Good morning, everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are and whatever time you're watching this on this beautiful planet. And it is a beautiful planet. So it's 6:05 in the morning on Monday the 20th of July 2020, and this is the third part of my survivor testimony. I am here. My name is Gordon McCracken. I am 54 years old and I am a survivor of childhood sexual abuse. I am coming to you as always from the city of Glasgow, Scotland, UK, and I am in the field. This is a field next to Glasgow's best kept secret. If you want to know where this is, you'll have to find out for yourself. I'll maybe get around to telling you why it's called Glasgow's best kept secret. But anyway, so I had a good result yesterday. I've completed the first part of my testimony, which runs for nearly 33 minutes. I had some trouble getting editing software for the computer, but got that at the weekend and got it edited and got it processed, and so the first part is ready to go. The second part, I'll get that sorted out this week. Now, as always, I'm not going to name any names. I will not. I'm going to be careful with what I say. I won't hopefully not use any bad language will be edited out. Anyway, what I wanted to specifically talk about this morning was, I'm sure many people watching this you will know John Wedger. A big shout out to John. John has played a massive part in my recovery and healing. God bless him and all his family, friends and loved ones, and of course God bless all victims and survivors of all sexual abuse. Now obviously I've watched a lot of John's podcasts and interviews with other victims, survivors of sexual abuse, and there was one maybe from a few weeks ago, and during the and it was a live stream, and someone had sent a message through asking the survivor or the person, how did you survive? And it's something I'd never thought about. I can't remember what the person's answer was. And so it got me thinking. The reason that I'm doing these video blogs, whatever, walking talks, whatever you want to call them. I said in the first part of my testimony, my story, whatever. I'm doing it for two reasons, and both reasons are equal. Number one, I'm doing these in order to hopefully help other people. And two, in order to help myself. Because, as I said earlier, I only found out in June 2015. At the age of 49, that I had been sexually abused. I always knew that there was something seriously wrong, but of course had absolutely no idea that it was sexual abuse. So even though it's 5 years now, it's a massive shock to the system, and I'm still coming to terms with it. And I will never ever recover from some of the things, some of the problems that I have, some of the damage that was done to me by two people, a man and a woman. I mentioned in the first part that the woman was an extremely close family member, but I didn't speak about the man. The man was someone in the neighbourhood where I lived in Glasgow. It was not a family member, it was not a neighbour, it was not even a friend. All I'm going to say, it was just a man who used to come into the neighbourhood on business, and that's all I'm going to say. And it was nothing illegal, so don't worry about drug dealers or whatever, anything untoward. It was just a man who used to come into the neighbourhood. I'm not going to say any more than that for the moment. I may talk about it in the future. Right, so it got me thinking yesterday about John's podcast live stream and the viewer asking about how did you survive. And that's one thing that I've been thinking about since then, and especially over the course of the weekend, because as I've learned, I did have survival skills, and I didn't know what those I didn't even realise, of course, that they were survival skills. And so hopefully I can talk about them now. Well, as I say, because it's only now that I realise that they were survival skills. Look at that. Don't know if the camera will pick that up, but beautiful. Right, I really haven't planned what I'm going to say, and with all these video diaries, let's call it a video diary, testimony, story, whatever, I'm just going to have a rough idea of what I want to talk about, then I will just let it flow naturally. So when there are gaps, well, I'm just thinking about what to say. I've just realised that, now that I think about it, survival skills, I didn't even know they were survival skills because I had no idea I was surviving. Right. One thing I had throughout my life was an absolute raging anger. Absolutely vicious anger from my primary school days. One thing I was doing, and right up until 2015, 2014, 2015, there's absolute raging anger, a hatred and contempt for most people in general. And I realise now, I was talking to, once I got sober and went to Alcoholics Anonymous, I got talking to some people who had gone through counselling, who gave me advice. And always remember one person in particular telling me, just the rage will eventually leave you. And that's one thing I noticed now in hindsight. Throughout my entire life, I always had this incredible rage, anger. But it wasn't just anger, absolute rage, fury that was literally constantly in me. From the moment I would wake up, from the moment I opened my eyes, my muscles would all be tense and twisted up, and this all this stress and constantly rage and anger throughout my entire body. Muscles all tensed up, this constant, and now all this horrible psychotic filth going through my mind all the time, plus the 2 recurring nightmares constantly playing on a loop through my head. And this is difficult. But I always remember, even in my primary school days, one thing I'd done was verbal abuse. I was never really one for violence unless it was absolutely necessary, and that was only in self-defense. But it was, I always remember just screaming abuse at people, even in primary school days, screaming abuse at neighbours, and I didn't know why. It was just something. But it was usually verbal. It never went more, and very, very rarely went more than that. And I'm not going to speak about anything other than that for the moment. But my biggest survival mechanism now was just staying away from people. I mean, avoiding people. I've always been completely comfortable on my own. I have no problem. I mean, this is what we got, it's now 6:15 in the morning. I'm standing in this beautiful field entirely alone, and yet I am completely and utterly comfortable and relaxed. This is where, as I've said earlier, this is where I come to relax and just let go of everything, always. That's it, nature. That's been one of my survival mechanisms. There was a really early memory. All of us, the family, my father got a job in the early 1970s. I'm not going to talk about what job, who it was or what he'd done, or who the employer was, but we ended up moving. We left Glasgow and we moved out to the countryside. I won't say where just now, but we moved out to the countryside, and it was like this on steroids. Just absolutely beautiful. And I remember leaving primary school one morning, or one lunchtime, and of course it was beautiful, just out the back of the school into this beautiful park, and it was like this. And I just remember getting away from everybody, going home for lunch, and just as soon as I walked into the park, this absolute incredible sense of relief came over me. And I realised, and I was maybe 7, 8 years old, and that memory has stayed with me all this time, that absolute sense of relief getting into the park. And that was the first time I realised my love of nature. So I've always had a love of nature, the outdoors. I'm not a hardcore hill walker or mountaineer or anything. I don't really. The Campsies has been it's the highest I've ever climbed anywhere or walked anywhere. But like this, outdoors. And that has been, so the two main survival mechanisms: number 1, avoiding people, and 2, getting out into nature, and 3, another survival mechanism which I was thinking about over the last few weeks: always putting one foot in front of the other, always moving forward, no matter how difficult the situation is. Any time I've had jobs where it's been really difficult, if I've been badly treated or I don't get on with the people, just move on and go somewhere else. So other survival mechanisms. Music. As I said earlier, the three great loves in my life: music, food and education. So music was always, as I'm sure you hear a lot from musicians, pop stars, rock stars, once they discover music, it changes everything. And what was it someone said, music is medicine for the brain? I saw that a quote recently, and it's absolutely right. But of course, once you hear about some of these musicians, rock stars, whatever, and I'll maybe talk about that in the future. I'm not going to, obviously I will not mention any names. Where can we go? Let's go this way. I've gone nearly 17 minutes now. I think we'll just leave it. I'm watching the counter on the back of the camera. I've got like 3.5 minutes now, and I think we'll leave it at that. So, music, food, education, those were survival skills as well. So any survival skills: avoiding people, spending most of my time alone, getting out into nature, always moving forward. There's that old quote, when you're going through hell, keep going. And no matter how difficult the situation is, just keep getting forward, keep moving forward. And that's about it. But I don't even know if this, what I'm saying right now, if this will actually make it onto my YouTube channel. I've got a lot to do this week. I want to sort out my Facebook page as well, because once I put these up, hopefully I'll be able to help other people. And anyway, and there's going to be more editing of the next part of this video. I think I better just leave it there, and it gives me something to think about. What survival skill in the future? So I'm just kind of droning on. So anyway, this is a field, Glasgow's best kept secret. So this is Gordon McCracken. I'm 54 years old, a victim, survivor, and ultimately now thriver of childhood sexual abuse. If I can survive, if I could not only survive but thrive and turn my life around, if I can do it, then anyone can do it. And so, God bless each and every one of you who have watched and listened to this. And I've come up with a little tagline that I might use on my Facebook page: no guilt, no shame, no regrets. And a second one: no guilt, no shame, no regrets, and absolutely no apologies, because I have absolutely nothing to apologise for. So that's it. This is signing off from Glasgow's best kept secret. Take care, all of you. God bless.